Do you know why the Sumerians revered the chaotic sea goddess, Tiamat? The tale begins in the ancient depths of a world unformed, where only the swirling, endless waters of salt and fresh water roamed. These primal forces were embodied by Tiamat, a goddess of the boundless sea, her presence vast and fearsome, and her consort, god Apsu, the fresh waters. Their union gave rise to the first gods, beings born of the mingling waters. As these divine children grew, their noise and reckless energy angered god Apsu, who saw no other choice but to silence them. Goddess Tiamat, however, stood torn. Her immense form, half serpent, half dragon, stretched across the horizon, her eyes gleaming with the duality of love and chaos. Her heart was heavy with the choice that lay before her. "Can I destroy what we have given life to?" she whispered, her voice like the distant thunder of crashing waves. Yet as god Apsu's anger swelled, goddess Tiamat hesitated, bound by the maternal love she bore for her offspring, even as their rebellion threatened the balance of the world. God Apsu, his face etched with the weight of endless time, grew weary of the constant noise from the younger gods, their chatter like waves crashing against the shores of his patience. His eyes, once serene like the waters he embodied, darkened with anger. "They disrupt the peace of our realm," he muttered, his voice deep like the waters beneath the earth. Determined to restore silence, he devised a grim plan to wipe them out. Yet beside him, goddess Tiamat, whose form was as vast and unyielding as the ocean itself, felt the conflict in her heart. Her long, flowing hair rippled like the waves she commanded, her once gentle face now furrowed with sorrow. "How can we destroy what we have brought into being?" she whispered, her voice trembling with the weight of a mother's grief. The waters around them seemed to echo her distress, each ripple reflecting her hesitation. "They are our children," she cried, her plea heavy with sorrow, but Apsu's resolve remained cold, unmoved by her words. The god Enki, wise and ever watchful, heard of god Apsu's dark intentions. Cloaked in the shadows of deep thought, his sharp eyes glimmered with determination. "I must act," he murmured to himself. With cunning that rivaled the depth of the oceans, he cast a spell, lulling god Apsu into a deep, dreamless sleep. The waters grew still, silent under his power. As the great god lay defenseless, Ea struck, ending god Apsu's life before his plan could reach fruition. Goddess Tiamat, once the serene mother of the gods, was a being of ethereal beauty, her form shimmering like the depths of the sea she embodied. Her long, flowing hair cascaded in waves, dark as the midnight ocean, and her nurturing eyes once held the calm of still waters. But after the murder of her consort, god Apsu, her grief transformed her. Her once soft features hardened with rage, her eyes now fiery, burning with the fury of a storm at sea. No longer the mother, but a vengeful force of chaos, goddess Tiamat stood tall, her voice echoing like thunder across the heavens. Encouraged by the elder gods who stirred her sorrow into wrath, she raised her arms to summon the ancient creatures hidden in the abyss. The air around her crackled with dark energy as dragons, serpentine beings, and monstrous forms began to slither and crawl from the shadows. Each creature was a reflection of her rage, their eyes glowing with the same unholy fire. She filled them with venom instead of blood, their scales glistening in the dim light of the void, hissing as they awaited her command. "Let us make war upon our children," goddess Tiamat declared, her voice sharp as the crashing of waves against the rocks. The silence that followed her words was suffocating, as the gods stood frozen, watching their mother transformed into a force of pure destruction. What was once maternal love had been consumed by chaos, and goddess Tiamat, with her army of horrors, was ready to unleash the storm. Amidst the chaos, Kingu towered above the other monstrous beings, his eyes burning with ancient knowledge, his scaled form gleaming under the flickering light. His presence was both commanding and terrifying. The winds howled as goddess Tiamat, immense and serpent-like, draped in the shadows of her own monstrous fury, handed Kingu the tablets of destiny. These sacred relics, glowing faintly with otherworldly power, hummed in his hands, granting him dominion over the cosmos. "Lead my legions," she whispered, her voice a thunderous echo that rippled through the heavens. The earth trembled beneath them as she prepared for war. The sky darkened as goddess Tiamat's forces, winged beasts, venomous serpents, and dreadful creatures beyond mortal comprehension, gathered around her. Their scales shimmered in hues of green and gold, their breath like smoke rising from the depths of the underworld. The air grew thick with tension, the scent of sulfur and salt water filling the air, a reminder of the chaos from which all things were born. The younger gods, once bold and prideful, now stood frozen in terror. They could feel the very ground quaking beneath them, as if the world itself recoiled from the impending battle. Marduk, chosen to confront the terrifying chaos, watched from afar. "We must act," he murmured, gripping his bow tighter, the weight of destiny heavy on his shoulders. Amidst the swirling chaos, young Marduk stood tall, his piercing gaze sharp with resolve. His form, powerful and regal, contrasted with the fear that gripped the other gods. "If I conquer goddess Tiamat, will you name me ruler of the gods?" His voice echoed through the hall, calm yet commanding. The gods, their faces pale with desperation, nodded in unison. They had no choice but to place their hopes in him. Marduk, with the wind swirling about his feet, grasped his bow, its surface gleaming in the dim light, a weapon forged from the very stars. A net, woven from the finest threads of the heavens, hung at his side, and in his command were the fierce storm winds, howling like restless spirits. The air around him seemed to hum with ancient power as he set out to meet the mother of chaos, Tiamat, whose rage had birthed the very gods he now fought to defend. "She is no mere foe," Marduk whispered to himself, the weight of the battle before him heavy on his broad shoulders. His jaw clenched as he imagined Tiamat, her colossal serpent body, scales dark as night, coiled in fury. Her eyes, vast and cold like the abyss, burned with the primal force of the sea itself, a swirling chaos that could consume all. He knew that in facing her, he wasn't just fighting a beast. He was challenging the raw, untamed forces of creation itself. The battle between Marduk and Tiamat was nothing short of apocalyptic. The very fabric of the cosmos trembled under their might. Tiamat, the embodiment of chaos, rose before Marduk in her colossal form, a dragon of immense power, her serpent-like body coiling through the heavens. Her scales gleamed darkly under the dim light of the stars, while venom dripped from her fanged maw, hissing as it touched the earth. The air was thick with tension, every breath laden with the weight of impending doom. Marduk, clad in golden armor that reflected the fire of the sun, stood firm, his sharp eyes filled with the resolve of the gods, locked onto Tiamat. "You will not bring ruin upon this world," he called out, his voice reverberating through the heavens. As Tiamat roared, her voice a tempest that shook mountains and stirred the seas, Marduk unfurled his net, woven from the winds of the storm. With a swift motion, he cast it over her, trapping her mighty form. The winds howled as they wrapped around her, each gust binding her tighter, rendering her monstrous strength useless. For a moment, the chaos subsided, but it was not enough. Marduk needed to deliver the final blow. With all his strength, he drew his bow and let loose an arrow that gleamed like a comet streaking through the night sky. The arrow found its mark, piercing Tiamat's heart. A deafening silence followed as the life drained from her colossal form, her body crashing into the primordial waters below. The chaotic reign of the sea came to an end, and from her defeated body, the universe as we know it was born. Marduk, standing tall amidst the chaos, gazed upon the colossal, lifeless form of Tiamat. Her once ferocious eyes, now dim, glistened faintly, reflecting the silence of the cosmic void. With his mighty blade still dripping from their fierce battle, Marduk did not hesitate. He began to split her vast body, its sheer size stretching endlessly before him. Her scaled skin, dark as the abyss and as vast as the oceans, groaned as he tore her apart, each stroke of his blade reverberating through the heavens. He raised his hand and, with one decisive motion, divided her body in two. The heavens were born from one half, an ethereal sky of swirling constellations and shimmering stars. The other half, heavy and dense, became the earth, solid and fertile, rich with the promise of life. As her massive eyes, once filled with wrath, fell to the ground, they melted into the flowing waters of the Tigris and Euphrates, which would forever nourish the lands below. Her long, coiling tail, now lifeless, was flung across the sky, its scales sparkling like distant stars, forming the path of the Milky Way. In the stillness, what had been a form of chaos and destruction was now a world of order, crafted from her remains. Though Tiamat's fury was silenced, her essence lived on, woven into the very fabric of creation. The gods, watching in awe, knew that through her death, life itself had been born. Though Tiamat's body was cleaved to form the heavens and earth, her essence as the primordial chaos never truly vanished. Her towering form, once fearsome and majestic, symbolized the raw power of the cosmos. She was a vast, coiled, serpent-like being, her eyes glowing like molten gold, reflecting both the nurturing depths of the ocean and the fierce storms of destruction. As her body lay broken across the sky and land, the remnants of her ancient power lingered, breathing life into rivers, mountains, and the very stars above. Her legacy is more than one of defeat. It is the story of creation born from chaos. Tiamat was not merely a beast to be slain, but the embodiment of the wild, untamed forces that shape the world. Her tale whispers of the balance between creation and destruction, of forces so powerful that they cannot be fully controlled, only transformed. As the gods themselves trembled before her might, they knew that in her destruction they unleashed both life and the eternal possibility of ruin. Tiamat's story reminds us that within the heart of chaos lies the spark of creation, and even the most terrible forces have a hand in shaping existence. The Sumerians, followed by the Babylonians, revered Tiamat for more than just her destructive fury. Her vast form, often depicted as a great serpent or dragon, was a reflection of the untamed seas she embodied. Her eyes, cold and ancient, gazed upon creation with a power that predated the gods themselves. She was not only a force of chaos, but the wellspring from which all life emerged. The swirling waters she commanded symbolized the primal turmoil before the universe took shape. Even in death, after her fierce battle with Marduk, Tiamat's legacy endured. Her colossal body, once a living force of nature, was split apart to create the very world itself. The heavens and the earth were shaped from her remains, her blood becoming the life-giving rivers that flowed across Mesopotamia. In the silence that followed her fall, the gods marveled at the universe she had birthed from chaos. "From her body, we rise," the gods whispered, acknowledging that without her, there would be no order to sustain them. The tale of Tiamat is a powerful reminder that life is born from chaos, and that creation and destruction are eternally intertwined. Her story continues to resonate as a symbol of the delicate balance that underpins existence, a testament to the cyclic dance of life, death, and rebirth. Tiamat's presence, though unseen, lingers in the rivers, stars, and the land itself, reminding us that chaos is never truly vanquished. It is merely transformed.